Draco Malfoy is one of those characters who I think a lot of the fans love when they shouldn't, and I sort of get why. Tom Felton is very likeable, he played the role really well, and over time, people started mixing the performance with the actual character. Even J.K. Rowling basically said that herself. She said people romanticised Draco, that Tom Felton's appeal played a part in that, and that Draco was not secretly hiding some heart of gold underneath it all. And when you go back through the books, I think that's pretty obvious. Because Draco is not just some misunderstood sad boy who made a couple of mistakes. For most of the series, he's nasty, spiteful, prejudiced, and constantly trying to make life worse for other people. Right from the start, in the very first book, he's already trying to get Harry into trouble. He sets up the whole midnight duel and then doesn't even show up, and the whole point is basically to get Harry caught breaking the rules. That tells you a lot about him early on. He's not brave, he's sly in the worst way. And then there's the way he treats Hermione. This is not one that gets brushed past easily either. Draco doesn't just insult her, he repeatedly calls her Mudblood. Not once in a moment of anger, but repeatedly, deliberately. That is one of the ugliest slurs in the wizarding world. And he throws it around because he genuinely believes people like Hermione are beneath him. And it's not just Hermione either. That attitude runs through his whole character. He looks down on anyone he sees lower than him. He mocks the Weasleys for being poor. He insults Hagrid. He parrots all the pureblood rubbish he's grown up with like it's just normal. At one point, he even refers to Dumbledore as a mudblood lover. And this is why I struggle when people talk about him deserving a redemption arc. Because what are they basing that on? He helps create the situation that nearly gets Buckbeak killed. He wants Hagrid sacked. And this isn't just one little mean comment here and there. This is a pattern with Draco. He keeps using other people's suffering as entertainment. If somebody weaker is in the firing line, he enjoys it. Then when the story gets darker, Draco doesn't suddenly become a better person. He becomes a frightened one. And those are not the same thing. Because yes, in Half-Blood Prince, he is under horrible pressure. Voldemort is using him. His family are trapped in something bigger than they control. All of that is true. But it also remains true that Draco nearly gets Katie Bell killed with the cursed necklace, and nearly gets Ron killed with the poisoned mead, because he's trying to murder Dumbledore. Rowling outright says he came close to accidentally killing 2 people instead. So when people talk about him like he was basically harmless, he wasn't. He was reckless enough to get innocent people nearly killed. And then there's the bathroom scene. People talk about Sectum Sempra, and fair enough, it's one of the most shocking moments in the series, but Harry didn't actually know what it did. But if people forget what Draco did in that scene, he tried to use Crucio on Harry. That is not a schoolyard nonsense. That is not a little bit of teenage posturing. That is him going for an unforgivable curse. So again, why are we acting like this is some poor misunderstood lad who was never really that bad? Then you go to Malfoy Manor, which is the scene people hold up as proof that Draco redeemed himself, because he didn't say it was Harry when the group were captured. He pretended he wasn't sure. But even then he doesn't say no, it's not them. He says, yeah, it could be. Draco's family were under Voldemort's house arrest after what happened at the Ministry, and he was no longer enjoying the reality of the world he once thought he wanted. So it was self-serving, him thinking maybe he doesn't want Voldemort to win, and in that moment he isn't sure if he should say it's Harry. But what does he do later? He goes back into Hogwarts with Crabbe and Goyle and tries to capture Harry. If Draco had fully changed, then that does not happen. But it does happen, because even then, he's still trying to catch Harry and get his family back into favour. Rowling literally says that during the final battle, he made yet another attempt to capture Harry for exactly that reason. So for me, this is the real point. Draco is not an example of this big, beautiful redemption arc that the fans sometimes pretend he is. He's a bully raised in a rotten ideology who only really starts wavering when that ideology stops feeling glamorous and starts feeling dangerous to him personally. And that makes him more interesting, more human, and more layered, but not redeemed in the way people like to claim. There's a difference between being scared, conflict, and trapped, and actually becoming good. Draco gets sympathy from me in places. He does not get absolution. And I think that's where a lot of the fandom goes wrong. They see Tom Felton. They remember the look, the swagger, the dry delivery, the damaged posh boy energy, and they start filling in the gaps with a version of Draco that mostly exists in fan imagination, not in the actual books. But book Draco is cruel, is prejudiced, repeatedly chooses nastiness when he has the chance, and nearly gets innocent people killed. And even when he finally starts to crack, it still takes fear, collapse, and the end of everything he thought he believed in, just to drag him towards hesitation rather than full evil. That is not a redemption arc people should be swooning over. That's a warning about what happens when someone is raised to value status, blood, and power over decency. And to be fair to Rowling, I think she understood that perfectly well. It was the fandom that softened him, not the story. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on Draco? Let me know.